Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast. I'm JT, joined by Jake, Frank, Lounis, Season 3, Episode 14, and we are at the NFL trade deadline. It just closed today as we're recording Tuesday night, and I'm just going to jump right into it. Kicking us off with one from Frank's team, the Steelers. We have Chase Claypool getting traded to the Bears for a second-round pick. I'm just going to lead us off real quick and say I think it was a win-win for both teams. What do you think, Frank?
I think realistically, Chase Claypool's outlook, I think, is going to be the same. I don't see this as necessarily a huge bump in targets. Maybe it's a little bit more consistent, but nonetheless, I'm not sure that this move really substantially jumps Claypool from where I had him before. I think I was already warming up to him being like that fringe top 24, maybe more realistically in like the 30s right now, wide receiver. I think now that his value will reflect that in trades, but I don't think this makes him worth a first round pick. I don't think anyone's going to come out here and say that the Bears is this amazing offense where he's going to flourish in, but maybe he's just going to be a little bit more consistent and see like a 2 to 3%, 4% target share increase.
I think it is, at least for this season, limited by the fact of just Chicago is not a pass-heavy offense. I mean, just in general, dynasty perspective, I think I'm a little bit more higher on the move. I mean, for starters, one, I think he's a more talented receiver than Darnell Mooney. I think he's going to be better than Mooney. I think he's actually the number one in Chicago. It's just limited based on the amount of times they're letting Justin Fields throw. But I think hopefully as the season goes on, they let him kind of like expand the passing game more, and mostly, especially next season, I think is the big one. I think it's good for Claypool. I mean, he was kind of limited. Like did you see him surpassing? And I know maybe right now he's ahead of Pickens, but you know that the situation was set up for Pickens to become the number 2 if he isn't already, with Deontay as the 1. And now he gets a chance to be the number 1 receiver. And again, a worse passing offense. But I think it has potential to improve. Justin Fields has been better over the past 2 weeks. This is more so like, I agree with you, rest of the season, it doesn't change that much. But I think like entering next year, if we see another step up from Justin Fields, let him throw the ball more, I think this could be a lot better for Claypool.
So where I think rest of the season and dynasty and everything, I think what you got to do is look at Gabe Davis. He's currently like wide receiver 24 on Keep Trade Cut.
Claypool's a better receiver than him.
Claypool's like 42. And I think you just got to move Gabe Davis down and move Claypool up until they meet in the middle somewhere. Because I think essentially you're getting the same kind of thing where Claypool, they're both around like an 18% career target share kind of player. I think Claypool has a little bit of a better opportunity to increase that target share, but Gabe Davis is just on that offense that passes way more, as a more efficient pass attack. So I think it's not going to be that much of a difference, like a material difference between the two. So I think if you had them both somewhere around like wide receiver 32 or something, I think that's like a fair assessment to have those guys at. Yeah, you go, Jake. Jump in here.
I wanted to touch on just the Steelers side of this. I think this move obviously makes sense for a whole bunch of reasons for the Steelers. Obviously, they don't have to pay Claypool. They pick up a second-round pick. This opens up targets for Deontay Johnson, who they just signed long-term deal, and their second-round pick this year in George Pickens, who I think we all agree is a more talented receiver than Claypool was. And I just think this is right. So I think especially Freiermuth's been drawing a good amount of targets the past few weeks. I just think that offense was too crowded, and this move really frees up all of those guys we just mentioned, and Pickens, Deontay Johnson, and Pat Freiermuth. I just think this is you're gonna see an increase in their target share, and you're gonna see an increase in I think the role of George Pickens now, especially that he's no longer, basically splitting that wide receiver 2 spot with Chase Claypool, and he can get that all to himself and really up the snap percentage, up the targets, and really show people how talented he is.
Does it open a door for you guys for like a Calvin Austin and Miles Boykin.
Well, that's the thing is that it opens the door for them. Pickens had already been playing in that outside role over Claypool the past bunch of weeks. He kind of already earned that over him. Claypool was then relegated to the slot, which now probably opens it up for Gunnar Olszewski, I guess, in the short term. Maybe he's a speculative waiver ad right now. Calvin Austin, I think, didn't get promoted, or doesn't seem like he's going to get promoted off IR in time to make it before he has to be out for the rest of the season. I do want to touch back though, because I actually don't think that Claypool is a better receiver, at least right now, than Mooney is. And the reason why is because he's just hasn't been able to develop that QB friendly aspect of his game, when to sit down in the zones correctly, right? Making all of the correct decisions on these multi-option routes. You're reading the coverage and making the correct decision. And to me, while he does, Claypool, fill that void of, the Bears need an athletic receiver that can actually go and get the football, that they've been missing. They just have a bunch of small dudes out there. I don't think he fits the, hey, we need a good veteran receiver to help Justin Fields, so that Justin Fields doesn't have to be this veteran in the second year of his season, right? We're not asking him to be the leader of this team as a sophomore quarterback. I don't think he fills that void, and that's why I'm scared of, and I don't think that the short-term production boost is guaranteed like you think it is, Lounis, is because I think Claypool has enough development to do on his own to really blossom into a guy that you can justify giving him more than 7-8 targets in your offense. I actually do think that Mooney, while he doesn't have that 6'4", 4'4" speed ability, I just trust him in running the offense more correctly and not making mistakes.
So, two things I want to say. That you're completely right in terms of Claypool has struggled with moments like learning how to sit in zones, kind of running better routes to make it easier on his quarterback. And I do think Mooney is better in both of those aspects. I just think, otherwise, and you can only put so much into physical attributes like speed, hands, height, everything. I just think he's a slightly more talented. It's close for me. I just think he kind of fits more of the archetype of a wide receiver one for them. And I've seen, we've seen it all season, but just even specifically the Cowboys game, some of those deep jump balls that Fields does sometimes throw, he should have had 2 more touchdowns last week. Avilas Jones dropped a deep pass that was right on the money. Equinemius St. Brown had another jump ball fall right in his hands that he just couldn't hang on to. And those plays are plays that should have been touchdowns for Chicago. I think those are specific plays where you could see Claypool help. Even N'Keal Harry, N'Keal Harry caught a touchdown last week on a big body throw.
Yeah, you're right, no, and that's the role that Claypool's going to fill.
So, by the way, I do want to specify when I say short-term boot, rest of season I'm kind of back and forth on, because I have no idea how much freedom they're gonna give Justin Fields. I think they should give him more freedom, but I don't know how much they're gonna end up giving him. It's more so I'd be very excited for 2023-2024 season Chase Claypool. I think he could have a really good year as Fields develops more. And there was another small point I wanted to bring up, because I saw a couple of draft guys bring this up online, and it kind of has to do with a few of the wide receiver trades today. It seems like NFL, well, at least what they've said, their opinion is NFL consensus, after the first couple receivers in this upcoming draft class, it's not as strong. A second round receiver this year may not be the quality type of player as a second round receiver over some of the couple drafts we've seen recently over the past few years. And because I was going to say, I thought the Steelers got a really good return in terms of getting the Bears second round pick, but someone brought up that point, they don't think they'll be able to, at that point in the second round, get a receiver as good as Claypool.
I think the difference that we're seeing is the value of a wide receiver has also gone up. Yeah, has gone up a crazy amount. So we saw, I forget however many were taken in last year, 7, 8 in the first round, and the year before that there was a bunch in the first round as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Yeah. But you're getting way more receivers going in the first round than usual. So now, I guess technically those second round receivers probably won't be as good. but that's because you're just getting more of them drafted in the first round. I mean, like you go back to 2019, which was only 3 years ago, I guess 4 drafts ago. There's only 2 wide receivers that went in the first round: Hollywood Brown and N'Keal Harry. And then yeah, going back, even like DJ Moore and Calvin Ridley were the only 2 to go in the first round the year before that. You had 3 the year before that. So we've just seen like a big uptick in wide receivers going in the first round. So when you have these guys that are getting traded for second round picks in Chase Claypool and Calvin Ridley, I think they probably are more likely to be of that kind of second round talent that you're giving up. And I'm just going to transition us here with Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
The other part of it is it seems like NFL teams have kind of caught on. You saw it with Tua. He was struggling. They got him wide receiver help. He's done a lot better. Joe Burrow got wide receiver help, doing a lot better. Jalen Hurts got wide receiver help, doing a lot better. These teams
even
are like
Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs.
Back.
So you put the weapons around your receiver. I like the idea of you just have these guys on the rookie contract. You have that kind of money and freedom to throw around that a lot of teams with established veteran quarterbacks do not. Why not give them like zero excuses? So, I mean, the Bears still have a ton of excuses in terms of their offensive line and everything, but the way that the rebuild is going, it's good.
Real quick, not even with just the rookie contract receivers. I feel like it's also when your quarterback's on this rookie contract, you can kind of afford to get that higher paid receiver more.
That's more so
when like your franchise QB is only getting paid like what, $6 million. You can kind of get one of those top 2 receivers. But go on.
So, but
Calvin Ridley.
All right, now looking at Calvin Ridley, didn't really expect him to get traded. I kind of forgot that he existed and was a potential trade target.
This was the biggest surprise to me on deadline day.
Same.
I did not see this one coming at all.
To me, this is either like a super good sign for Calvin Ridley or an astronomically bad sign, because I agree it shocked me just because I figured it would kind of be like a Deshaun Watson scenario. All the teams are just going to stay off until they kind of get some more clarification. Either I think that the Falcons were just like, okay, this is not going to work out. Calvin Ridley is not going to be the player that he once was. Whatever, we're just going to fleece someone now before we can't. Or this is a really good sign because the Jaguars did their due diligence and everything, and they're saying, hell yeah, Calvin Ridley's going to be a go. We're going to pick him up for cheap now. Probably have to give him that contract extension, but they're thinking they're getting kind of an Amari Cooper type move there, where they're getting a guy that, yeah, he's not the youngest in the world, but they can get a good contract out of.
What I will say, I'm not much down on Ridley because of this move. I think there are a couple football reasons this move made sense. This year should have been the last year on his rookie contract, but now it's next year. He's going to get paid $11 million next year, and it will be the final year of his deal before he would need an extension. They just drafted Drake London. They have Kyle Pitts. I don't think it made sense with how many holes they have on that team to then also go ahead and give Calvin Ridley this extension as what? He's going to be 29 next season. And the second round pick, assuming he does play, because there were, Jake mentioned pre-pod, it's a conditional second rounder depending on if he plays enough and if he makes a roster, etc. That's not a bad return at all, especially from a team like the Jaguars. If it's their own second round pick, that's probably going to be a decent pick.
It's a second and a fourth, I believe.
And a fifth. Okay. Second and a fifth. Yeah, but still, like a second and a fifth is a pretty good return for a receiver who's going to be 29 next season. So it's like it still took a bit to get him. In terms of now his fit in Jacksonville, I think it's good for Trevor Lawrence. Like we've seen Christian Kirk producing as his wide receiver 1. Now he kind of bumps to the 2, which I think is the correct role for him. I think Ridley fits much more into that wide receiver 1 profile. I like this move a ton for the Jags. I think it makes sense for the Falcons, and I'm good with it with them. But I love it for Jacksonville.
I think it's great for Jacksonville because they needed a receiver that could actually separate. Marvin Jones hasn't really been able to separate.
Getting older. Yeah.
Zay Jones has been kind of inconsistent some games. If he has a good matchup, he is. Some games he's not. And even Christian Kirk, right? We've kind of seen recently that teams have been putting a little bit more attention on Christian Kirk, and they're able to take him out of the game if they want to. So they definitely needed some other weapon that wasn't Marvin Jones or one of these back-end guys. Zay Jones is fine, but kind of like we saw with the Raiders last year, if you're trying to be a playoff team, you'd rather have Zay Jones as that peripheral option rather than, okay, we need to rely on this guy game in and game out, matchup in, match him out, to be able to create separation on the outside.
I'm going to say it. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Calvin Ridley is fucking toast, man.
You think he's toast?
What's Ridley's value now? So
wait. Are you saying he's toast?
Yes, he's done. He's washed. He's finished.
Dude, he said this before. He's had this take before, Lounis.
He's done. He's done. Finished.
What are you paying for Ridley right now? 2 seconds? 2 league seconds? Not you. You just said he's toasted. Obviously not you.
I would have only given up a second in the first place. Him getting traded hasn't really changed his value much for me.
So in the 2020 season, in 15 games, he had 90 catches for 1,370 yards. In 2021, in 5 games, he had 281 yards. I don't know. I still think he can be good.
I'm buying Calvin Ridley. I bought a couple Calvin Ridleys in the offseason.
The second question is where in the second round are we talking about here? Because for me, I'm thinking like contender second. If you're giving 2 contender seconds, I don't hate that deal.
I mean, from the reactions, you might be able to get something back. I just assume that I have Calvin Ridley in leagues. I'm probably just going to reject a straight up second round pick unless it's an early second, or at least there's a chance to be an early second.
Oh, I'd 1,000% give a second and a third. I'll do in a second. Like I'm not, but the second and the third I'll do heartbeat. Yes, 2 seconds a little bit tough because I probably would have put, and it's like these are completely late seconds. If I had the draft picks at my disposal, I think he's gonna have a good season. I think next year you see him come back and he has a good year.
Right before your trade deadline, especially if you did a startup, if there's a contending team, maybe they have an injury or two, and they might want to use Calvin Ridley as a piece in a trade to get either a halfway decent receiver, maybe like a Terry McLaurin or someone, right? I don't know, name a halfway decent receiver, Deontay, whatever.
Yeah.
They just might be willing to use that piece. Okay, I see the record, I see the playoff chances, I see the championship potential on my team. Just did the startup. I'll be willing to sell Calvin Ridley at that mid-second valuation if I'm getting a receiver that can help me contend now. If you're a team that is looking to just pick up free upside, to me, that's free upside. I think Calvin Ridley is going to come back and have success. I don't think he fit what the Falcons wanted to do with Arthur Smith, where they've historically gone after just big-ass yards after catch receiver because they want to run an offense where their guys at the line aren't going to get pressed, that they can just do these 15, 10-yard digs off play action and eat, right? And not get jammed up one-on-one at the line. So I think Lounis was kind of right in that the Jaguar scheme, I think, will help Calvin Ridley, and it's a good trade for him.
Washed.
I just don't think he's.
So wait, like Jake, I was like, do you not think he has 1,000 yards next year, like something like that? Oh, you don't think he breaks 1,000 yards next season?
No,
he's only done once in his career.
Oh, I think he does.
He's only done it once. He's gonna be
1,300 yards.
Sure,
2 seasons
doesn't
ago.
matter.
He's gonna be 28. He's gonna be 28.
Yeah,
he's not gonna be 30.
No, 30.
He turns 29 during the season next year. He's 28 turning 29 next season.
Doesn't matter. He's getting to that point where you don't want to have a receiver because once everyone sees that little 3 in the front of their age, nobody wants to buy him. Nobody take him for anything more than a second. Blah 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 blah. He's coming off a year where he's not playing football.
Yeah.
He's playing with a quarterback that's new to him, a new system, new everything. And honestly, Trevor Lawrence has looked like he can barely support one weapon, let alone him, Christian Kirk. Like, there's no.
Well, that's
there's
a
no-
different
You want to know what
argument.
all those?
That's
You
a
want to know
different
why
argument.
I want to buy is because all of those same arguments were used against buying Tyler Lockett, and I can guarantee you, everyone that bought Tyler Lockett is really happy with their purchase. I think Calvin really has the talent level that Tyler Lockett does. I'm willing to invest in him.
I don't know. I think
The
it's
difference is Tyler Lockett loves playing football. This man stepped away from the game for a year and then was suspended for gambling for a year. I don't have the same vibe. as
Okay,
Tyler
that is
Lockett.
true. That's true. I'll give you that.
Jake's
That's a fair
breaking out the intangibles.
Yeah, he doesn't have that dog.
no,
in him.
no, no.
Yeah.
Honestly, no. I think that's a really good point. I still
Tyler
think
Lockett was like nearly crying on the sidelines this week against the Giants when he fumbled a punt.
I still do think he'll have a decent year. I think he'll break 1,000 yards. I think he'll catch maybe like 6 to 7 touchdowns and have a pretty good season next year. I could see like 1,100 yards, 6 or 7 touchdowns.
You should be smash buying for two late seconds then.
Well, I mean, I could see 1,100 yards and like that
1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns.
that amount of
is
touchdowns.
a good season, right?
For someone who's turning 30. But for someone who's turned 30, why would I not just buy D-Hop instead?
That's my point. Like D-Hop, Keenan, there's a few other players I would just rather spend that kind of 2 seconds. I could probably get pretty close. D-Hop, I think I could. Keenan.
D-Hop
I
has
don't
been
think right now
phenomenal
you
since
could get
he's
D-Hop for 2 seconds.
I don't think right now you can't get D-Hop. Yeah, that's a fair point. You can get
I
Keenan
know.
Allen for 2 seconds.
If I lost,
I wouldn't
if
trade Keenan Allen for 2 late seconds in my contending leagues where I have him.
You can't. If you're contending,
Sure,
you're not
but
gonna give him up for
the
that.
flip side of this is I just think those guys are like special players who could still give you wide receiver 1 seasons. I just think Calvin Ridley, he's going to be fine. He's just going to be like, he's going to give you those in like.
Is
half
1,100
PPR,
yards
like 12
that
points a game.
crazy for 17 games?
I mean,
Well, how many-
1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns is like a wide receiver 2 finish, a healthy wide receiver 2 finish.
Is Christian Kirk not on pace for that this year as the number 1 in Jacksonville? I'm pretty sure he is.
Last
He
year,
would have been earlier on, but he's been struggling.
last year there was only.
I think
1,
even
2,
still
3,
he's on
4.
pace for it.
Hold on. Last year there was only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's only 15 players that surpassed 1,100 yards.
Yeah.
We're saying Calvin Ridley is in that top 15.
No.
In the
Not
certain,
anymore.
I mean, I think I don't necessarily think if for one season you finish more yards than another player, it means you're fully better. I think situation plays it. I think Christian Kirk is going to finish more receiving yards.
One of those
than
was
players
Travis Kelce
that-
too. So
I think Christian Kirk this season as the number 1 in Jacksonville is going to finish more receiving yards than receivers who he's not better than.
like maybe, but you're
He has
asking a lot from the Jaguars.
He has I don't know how many. He has 498 receiving yards and 4 receiving touchdowns in how many games?
7.
8. He's played all 8.
He's
So
played all.
he's averaging like a little over 50 yards a game.
Yeah, he's on pace for a little under 1,100 yards.
He's on pace for a little under 1,100 yards. I think Ridley's better than Kirk. I think he can break 1,100. This isn't like a crazy take.
Nah, he's washed.
We'll see.
I don't know about wash, but
I'm
If Christian-
looking
If,
to buy more.
if Kirk's on pace for 1,000, Ridley's a better receiver than him.
He's not washed like Kenny Galladay.
Let's-
but
Oh,
like,
Kenny Galladay's beyond washed.
But he could be like a Corey Davis washed.
yeah, exactly. Where he's like
Corey
still
Davis
relevant,
is
but
fine.
He'll
like,
be better than Corey Davis.
Corey Davis is the price of a third, though.
He's
That's
gonna.
true,
He's
that's true.
exactly.
TJ Hockenson traded to the Vikings. This one was another surprise.
Yeah.
I've long been
I
on the
really-
trade that I didn't
This
think
was a
TJ Hockenson
surprise.
was that great. I was long on the train that TJ Hockenson wasn't that great. I think
a
the
quick-
Lions got out from him on a good deal. I think Irv Smith trash. Sorry, Jake. You've long been the Irv Smith guy. I just think he's had enough chances already. Couldn't do anything.
Well,
So they're like,
the problem
hey.
with Irv Smith is that he's always hurt. He got hurt again, and that's why. they
No,
made this
even
move.
when he's
Right.
healthy, though, he's not doing enough. Like, he's just not. And so I think the Vikings are like, hey, we're a team that we're at the top of the NFC North. We're a team that's going to make the playoffs. why not just try and make a run for it and go for it and pick up this tight end? Because we've seen what good teams with good tight ends can do. Let's take a chance on TJ Hockenson. I just think it's probably not going to work out that great. But that's my
the one question mark I have is that I think I like Thielen. He's been productive in the games he's played. Like if you look at just the stat sheet, he's been fine, right? But when you look at the games, it looks like he's clearly missing a step, right? Missing half a step compared to what Thielen usually is. Yeah. And he's been playing through battling a lot of like just minor little nagging injuries and things.
Yeah.
So, okay, Thielen not the same player he was. Freaking KJ Osborne, inconsistent Andy, right?
So like he's been all right. No, he has not lived up to some of the hype people had for him last offseason.
No, he was putting it out for himself.
Yeah,
man.
he was.
No, like he was. I mean, not even just what he said, but like people were saying like he might pass or like heavily challenge Thielen for that wide receiver 2 spot this season.
Right.
This is a passing attack and an offense that is kind of already shown this season that it's an elite group, right? The offensive line is playing really well, which has not been something that Minnesota Vikings fans are able to say confidently very often. I think that TJ Hockenson has an actual opportunity to take that number 2 role in a halfway decent passing attack. And I do like TJ Hockenson. Is this the bait, though? Is this the bait? Because it felt like JT's right in that we said this every year on the Lions. I'm buying it again, unfortunately, but am I taking the bait?
My evaluation of Hockenson doesn't change at all. If you weren't going to buy him before this trade, I wouldn't buy him now because of it. If you didn't want to buy him before this trade and you still do, great. My main point is nothing changes for me. Hockenson had every chance to be the number 1 and at worst number 2 in Detroit on a team that's always going to be passing the ball, playing from behind because their defense lets up like 40 points a game. There's more competition in Minnesota, but I do think Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback, so I'll give him and more scoring opportunities. So that's why I think it's even. I think the Lions, maybe you get more targets, but Minnesota, it's more scoring opportunities and just a better offense in general. I have the exact same evaluation on TJ Hockenson push rate. I think this more impacts the others. I think it's more so Thielen might take a slight bump. Irv Smith Jr. is pretty much dead. I think for Amon-Ra, it's nice. Jameson Williams, they said about like a month, I think like last week. So 3 more weeks probably still until he's back, but it's going to be the Amon-Ra show. So I think over the next month, you might see Amon-Ra get like absurd target numbers. My opinion on Hockenson doesn't change. Like when you say you're in and you want to buy him, if you didn't want to buy him before this trade and like weren't like actively trying to, this isn't moving the needle for me.
This gives you a good sell window, though, if you've been looking to get off Hockenson.
Mm-hmm. Like, if you think people are higher on him now, then yeah, I agree. Because for me, it's the same. I think he will be productive, but he was productive in Detroit when he's healthy. I think still the injury concerns are there. He's missed some time all of the years he's been in the NFL, I want to say. If not, then most of them. I still think he's a good tight end. Like, I'm not going to
I just think this might give Hockenson some upside. The problem with me in Detroit was that you never got those games where he was the focal point in the offense, right? There was never.
When is he going to be with Jefferson?
Well, that's the whole idea, is that you get into an offense that has an elite receiver and a really good running game, so that there is an opportunity where you can clearly see him line up for a game with like 10 targets and to get fed in the red zone off play action.
But the Lions' running game is fantastic.
The Lions had a good run game, and Amon-Ra was a good receiver.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they do.
No, they did not. Okay, they had a good running game on paper. They had an explosive running game. They did not have a consistent, we can line up and get 5 yards and pound the ball down their throat. They had we're going to break out a couple of big-ass runs every once in a while, but this is not a running game they could lean on.
I think the Lions have had a decent running game between Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift when he's healthy.
It's your case for selling us on TJ Hockenson is there's better players around him, so that he won't be as.
I think
Again,
he's
like,
on a
look,
consistent
no,
offense.
again, I was high on TJ Hockenson. I like TJ Hockenson. He's a very productive tight end. He has injury concerns, but he's a productive tight end. My thing is, I'm not calling him like bad at all. Like, I think he'll still be productive. I'm saying my opinion doesn't change. He could still be on the Lions, and I'll view him the exact same way. Like, it's just nothing has changed for me with this trade. I think his numbers will be pretty similar overall.
And I think
I
we
tend to
finally
side with-
get him
I
on
think-
a team where if they line up with tight ends on the field, he's not blocking half the snaps.
Real
They'll
quick,
send
Jake.
in fucking Johnny Munt to block this
Jake,
time.
what were you gonna say?
I just kind of tend to side with Frank on this one. I don't know how you don't. I mean,
Oh, you think it's a boost?
I think it's a boost. I mean, the Detroit
I'm not saying like a
offense-
big boost, but a boost. Yeah.
The Detroit offense has been good, but like you put them in an offense where you have to focus and really everyone's looking at Justin Jefferson, and then obviously Adam Thielen's no slouch on the other side. Like you got to pay attention to those guys. And you have an all-pro running back in the backfield that you can't just ignore. So like now you're looking at an offense where he's probably the fourth option, but I think that's still better than what he was because now he actually will just sneak by defenses because they're not thinking of, oh, hey, we actually have to think about TJ Hockenson here. And that'll actually benefit him.
I think it'll benefit him, but I think that's where it evens out. It's a better offense, but I think he's going to get less targets.
I'm not saying it's a huge boost. I'm just saying maybe it's 2-3 spot boost past some guys, and that's about it.
Yeah, for me, it's generally the same. I think this is more interesting for some of the outside guys. Like if you had Irv Smith and you're still clinging. Well, first off, he's out 8 to 10 weeks, so you're already cooked. But now he's like dead. He's not even just cooked. He's overburnt. And then Amon-Ra, I think until J-Mo comes back, is going to be getting double-digit targets every single game. Even when J-Mo comes back immediately, Amon-Ra still might get double-digit targets.
Fucking Lions, and they
have been the Lions
in every category on offense. The Lions are leading the Vikings.
The Lions have been
how
decent on offense.
I'm just lost in like they have more yards per game, they have more passing yards per game, more rushing yards per game, more points per game. Like in every aspect.
The Lions is a nice situation.
Who do you want to bet on their offense going forward? Do you want to bet on the Vikings or do you want to bet on the Lions?
Well, of course,
no, but the Lions got some early shootouts.
I'm saying with the Lions though, like with their defense, how everything is set up with stats JT brought up, they're always trying to keep up. Every team that plays against the Lions puts up 27, 30 plus points.
Yeah, but what do you think the Lions are going to do in the offseason? They're going to go, we had the worst fucking defense in the league.
That's why they traded Hockenson. Because they want to improve their defense. But I'm saying, like, in general, long term, I'm not saying it becomes worse at all. No, I'm not saying. I'm saying it's the same. Like, I don't see the increase in production. I might completely be wrong, and I'll eat my words.
You get him on a staff that's actually going to use him, that's not going to block him half the freaking snaps, that actually has a plan for him going in.
Maybe they do. I'll eat my words if I'm wrong, but
I just think when you look at the Lions offense, those players getting the check down and those third down targets are always the receivers and the running backs. I just felt like the tight end was not a position that Detroit was heavily invested in consistently targeting unless they found they had a matchup they could really exploit. I think Minnesota has tried to use their tight end. You saw Irv Smith a couple of games this season early on.
They tried to use him in the red zone.
They're constantly rotating multiple tight end sets in Minnesota. I mean, their personnel groupings, to me at least, are just all over the place. They play a ton of different players. Now you get Hockenson there. I think he's going to actually have a consistent role compared to Detroit, where he didn't have a consistent role. Some games he's blocking the entire fucking game, and then finally, once every 2 or 3 games, they actually target him 7 or 8 times.
The times that they do is when everyone else is out. That's exactly what's happened. DeAndre Swift's been injured, Amon-Ra's been injured, and then that's when TJ Hockenson gets targets. Because then you're like, okay, we can't throw it to our 2 main guys. Let's just throw it to our third guy.
Okay,
kind of like how you're going to see with Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook.
So real quick, we should move on to the next target, but we'll just keep it on the record that Jake and Frank said it's some level of a boost. I'm not going to say big boost on either on the record, but just it could even be a slight one. I'm kind of on JT's side. I think we're both saying he's the same.
Yeah, he's just
The same.
he'll have his good game when players are out. I mean, he might have a game or two where he pops off, but he's not going to give you consistent good production that warrants him being. I think he's like tight end 5 on Keep Trade Cut.
I have a question to all of you. Would you rather have Hockenson or Goddard?
He's tight end 4 actually.
I'd probably rather have Goddard just because the Eagles have a better offense, more consistent offense.
What's Goddard
4? Goddard 6.
Goddard 6.
But this is the thing, right? Goddard's one of the players I immediately thought of with this move from Detroit to
just being in a better offense.
The Vikings, like
I thought of Gerald
he's
Everett.
not going to get fed Kelsey level targets, but I just think the offense is better. And if this offense is going to be able to move the ball consistently, actually have a legitimate threat of running the ball without having defenses being forced to play too high because the lines are down a bajillion points, that actually opens up Hockenson in the passing game to be consistent, which has been his whole fucking problem.
I think he's more like Gerald Everett than he is Goddard.
Damn. Okay.
This is I think the most interesting trade that has happened over the past week.
Oh, the prophecy. The prophecy.
Let's go off. Kadarius Toney.
Kansas
City Chiefs.
Yes. So at first when I saw this trade,
yes.
To people who have not been following the podcast for a long time, I've been a Kadarius Toney truther back to when he was in college at Florida with him and Kyle Pitts and Kyle Trask. So with the Giants, with the Kyles. So with the Giants, it's kind of been a roller coaster. He's been battling an absurd amount of injuries since he's been there. When he has played, he's shown
it would be a very boring roller coaster. It was one high week and then just nothing happened.
No, but he had a few weeks where he played. I don't remember his exact stat line, but against the Saints, I remember a game at the Saints, he played very well. I don't have all of them off the top of my head. But I mean, Jake Swat's the Giant. I think when he plays, the talent shows. It's just been
he's only had 2 games where he's put up over 10 points, and the Saints was 10 in half PPR.
The problem, Tony, was that it was more his off the field
stuff and injuries.
Attitude, injuries. I just think both parties involved were just like, we need a fresh start. We're going to cash out, whatever, move on. And he needed a fresh start somewhere else. And I think the Chiefs, he's a good fit with the Chiefs. Listen, we've seen what they can do with these. They love these fast, shifty wide receivers that are just going to be after the catch monsters. That's what they do. You know, we saw with Tyreek Hill. They drafted, Mecole Hardman to try to do it. They drafted Sky Moore to try to do it. So I just think he's a guy that really fits what this Chiefs offense wants to do. And I'm interested to see how he plays, but
I am too. No, and by the way, I do want to say this because the point I was going to get to, I'm super excited to see him in Kansas City. It seemed from his Twitter that he's, if not healthy right now, close to being healthy. I don't know what the cryptic shit was about. I couldn't tell you. I just hope as a Toney fan that he is healthy and that he can play soon. But the very first, at first, my first reaction was like, fuck yes, Toney. I'm going to prove JT wrong. You guys are going to see. He's going to be good. He has the talent. It's just the off-the-field shit and the injuries. Just get his head straight. Kansas City, there's less distractions in New York. This fucking bumblefucking Kansas City, Missouri. So we'll see what happens. But then the next thought, once I started thinking about it for a bit, was like, isn't what they're trading for Toney supposed to be what Sky Moore was supposed to be? That's the part. Then when I thought about, I was like, huh. Everything that you could imagine them using Toney in their offense for, I feel is what you spent a second round pick on Sky Moore to do.
I just think this says more about
are you discouraged? Are you discouraged on Sky Moore because they're similar style? I just think they're similar style, and they traded for one.
I think
they're not going to be able to.
Yeah, hold on one second, Jake. What the Chiefs did is they looked at their team. They see that Juju Smith-Schuster is on a 1-year deal. I think Mecole Hardman's in the last year of his deal. They have Travis Kelce aging. They have Marquez Valdez-Scantling for, I think it's 2 years, but,
Yeah.
kind of expensive. So they're like, hey, I think it's a mistake, but they're like, this guy had these off the field issues. He popped for that one game against Dallas when there was no one there. Let's take a chance on him because he is on that rookie deal, and we could just have two very young, good wide receivers in Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney as our future, hypothetically. I think this is all going to fall apart. Sky Moore's kind of has me wishy-washy. I'm not really that much in on Sky Moore anymore. Kadarius Toney, I think I love what the Giants did. They kind of just done what every dynasty player we've been trying to say to do, is just take that guy who struggled and just ship him off before he has zero value. That way you could recoup your losses. Because there's a chance that Kadarius Toney hits zero. Like, if he does not get on the field in this Chiefs, he's going to hit zero. So I don't know. To me, the Giants willing to trade away this kind of guy on the second-year deal when they have, like, it's just Wan'Dale Robinson, like, who's
Richie
next?
James.
Yeah, Richie James and David Sills, like Tanner Hudson as your main tight end right now. It's telling me more about Kadarius Toney than I think anything else. The Giants are just like, yeah, we'll take a third and a sixth. That's fine.
Frank,
Anything else on Toney?
Frank hasn't talked at all yet.
Because I wanted to listen because I have Toney in one league, right? I've had him on the taxi for a while. I'm personally thinking about selling on this news because what I'm thinking is, okay, kind of like what we were saying earlier about TJ Hockenson is, I think, more true with Toney, where I get a little bit of a bump and some hype off him getting traded to the Chiefs. The compensation that the Chiefs got wasn't terrible, so it's not like people can use the excuse, oh, the teams don't value him, and get out at maybe potentially picking up like a mid to early second in the draft next year. I don't really know what his price is, which is one of the first questions
I think I would think a mid-second right now.
Yeah, that's probably what I would have said.
And does he have enough upside, right? If I have him on the taxi just to take is it worth taking the shot, or just, hey, take the freaking second? Don't be the guy that tries to hit the home run, hit the single.
Okay. I don't have a 2023 mid-second. If I did have one in our home league and someone offered me Kadarius Toney for, let's just say, 207, I'm accepting the offer.
Okay, now what if someone offered you, assuming all the picks are late, a 24 first for Toney and a 24 second? You're giving the first for Toney and a second. Are you taking that?
Oh, I want the first. So
no, yeah, I want the first too. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get
tough. So I'm giving up a 24 first or a 23 late first.
No, a 24 first for Toney and
a late
all 24 picks.
All 24 picks.
You're not doing it. You're not doing it.
See, the fact that that's the problem I have is that I'm not sure I want to sell for I feel like if I'm going to buy someone, they're just going to have the same outlook as Toney.
So here's the thing. If you told me Toney would stay, like, what is it? I mean, obviously, like, injuries happen. Say you miss like 2 or 3 games per year, ignoring that. So, like, let's just say if you told me Toney was going to be healthy for like,
no fucking bullshit. Just you accept or reject the offer.
No, but the main point I'm saying is that
you're the highest guy I know on Toney.
No,
so
I'm
these excuses.
I haven't been able to talk. Let me talk. Let me talk. It's only because I'm scared of him being injured. If you told me he's gonna play at minimum 11 plus games a year. 11 plus games a year. It's an
yes or no. Guess. Yes or no. So, but your answer is no then, because you're afraid.
To the first round pick, no.
Yes, no.
But wait. I already gave you the answer though for a 23 or a 24 second round pick. It's a yes.
He was ADP. He was a late second round pick in 2021 when he was drafted.
Yeah.
He's had one good game and he somehow increased value. Take the value and run.
No, but but at one point you're gonna like shit on me for not giving up enough for Tony.
No, that was
just you're shitting on me for giving up too much for Tony.
That was my own thoughts. That wasn't anything with you.
No, because I'm saying, listen. Do I feel comfortable giving up a first rounder? No, like I don't feel comfortable giving up a first rounder. But if you're telling me I can give up, let's just say the mid-second round pick, 206 in 23 or 24 for Tony, yes, I'll do that trade. I will give up a mid-second.
I want to get.
I will give up the mid-second for Tony.
I feel like getting a mid-second or like a contender team second, like they're not in.
Okay, so let me say my line for Tony. What's the farthest up in the? Let's say a 23 second round pick for Tony. I'd give up 204. Ooh, would I go into the top 3? That's the question. I think.
What about if you're a contender, a second and a third?
A second and a third contender picks?
Yeah.
Oh, it's an easy yes.
An easy yes.
If I'm giving up 204, then yeah, I'll give up a late second and a late third. Yeah.
Because I might.
Then you guys are bashing on me saying like I don't value Tony. I value Tony. I just don't want to give up a first round pick.
No, I didn't say you don't value Tony. It's just we're going to go on for 10 minutes about how you're just going to decline the trade.
Yeah. No, I was
hypothetical. That doesn't exist.
But I was the only point. The only point I was trying to make is it's not a talent thing; it's an injury thing. That's the only reason I can't go into the first round because he showed injury problems. But talent-wise, yes. And because of the injury factor, I could go between 204 to 206 giving up. I don't think I can go higher.
All right,
I think he'll be good when he plays.
I'm going to pivot us into these running backs, which I think we could kind of speed run because none of them are that crazy. We got Chase Edmonds getting traded to the Broncos. It was more part of a Bradley Chubb trade.
Does this revive him at all? Is there any hope or no?
No.
I think he still might be the third running back on that.
Miami's offense is much better than Denver's. And, like, I don't know. Sure, you could say Mostert's better than Melvin Gordon, but, like, I don't know.
Is he?
I'll give Mostert the edge over Melvin Gordon.
I think he's gotten a demotion getting traded.
If you're a contender, right, do you just use this trade and this potential end of season push that you could have? You give up a third, potentially get an RB?
No, would I?
No. I'll trade for the third. I'll trade for the third.
Yeah, I'll just get him off my team.
Yeah, then you guys think he's worthless. Okay, I agree. We can move on.
Yeah, no, I'll trade him for a third. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many other running backs I'd rather just pick up two off waivers.
Okay, we could do the same game with Jeff Wilson. Is he at least? Does this move?
Okay, Jeff Wilson's interesting for contenders. Only for contenders. If you're not a contender, if you're not a top 4 team in your league, you should not even be looking at Jeff Wilson.
Jeff Wilson traded from the San Francisco 49ers, reuniting with Mike McDaniel in Miami, being traded to the Dolphins.
Just gives him hope.
Raheem Mostert, not the most consistent back. Usually, basically every season in his career has gotten injured at some point. Jeff Wilson somehow finds a way to stick around. So, Lounis, you seem to be the guy. Are you given that late third as a contender if you desperately need a running back for Jeff Wilson?
A late third for Jeff Wilson, 1,000% zero hesitation.
Yes.
1,000% zero hesitation at all.
All right, fellow stonkers, everyone listen up. Put your stonker hats on. We're going mass off for Jeff Wilson for a third. We're going in. We're going in.
I thought you were going to ask me like an early third or late second. A late third? I'd give up a mid third for Jeff Wilson.
That's all I needed to hear, boss. That's all I needed.
Late third, in that Miami offense with Tua back healthy, with how explosive they've been with Waddle and Tyreek Hill, the amount of scoring opportunities there'll be, Mostert's injury history. A late third, if I'm a contender trying to make a playoff push, that's an easy decision, yes.
This trade literally just makes sense because of Mike McDaniel's history with Jeff Wilson. Yep. He clearly said, okay, we were forced to give up Chase Edmonds to the Broncos, and we need some running back depth. Where am I going to go? Good old
Do you think the Broncos were like, you're not getting Bradley Chubb unless we get Chase Edmonds?
I mean, they clearly asked for him.
I could just picture Mike McDaniel just like sitting there, like hitting the joints, being like, Hey, can you guys like throw in Jeff Wilson? Like just sitting on the couch in the back of the room, like
No, I think he likes Jeff Wilson plays well when he's healthy, and he gets given opportunities.
Has played well when given the opportunity. I think reuniting with his old offensive coordinator.
And this offense, this isn't easy.
Obviously, Mostert and Wilson have played together, and when they have, Mostert's always been the top back, but as you guys mentioned, he never stays healthy. And I expect the same thing to happen again. You're going to see Jeff Wilson disappear right now. He's going to disappear, new team, not going to get many snaps, and then Mostert's going to get hurt, and all of a sudden Jeff Wilson's back, just like he always is.
But yes, to your question, I want to see your JT and Jake's answer. Late third for Jeff Wilson if you're a contender. For me, it's a yes.
Easy.
It's fine. I don't know.
No-brainer. For me, it's a no-brainer.
I'm taking the third. I'm literally going to go. I have it right down on my sticky card, right? I've got my Toney trade for a second and a third potentially, and now Jeff Wilson. I'm going to mass offer him for a third. Listen, if you're a contender in any league, I'm pretty sure second, third, 20 league, you guys are going to get that trade.
Bro, there's one. We
can do it right now. We can do it right now.
I forgot which league. It's either the second, third, and 20 league or the first, third, and 20 league. I've just been setting my lineup every week. My team is straight horseshit. And I was like 4-3. I was like, how the fuck, dude? I had Samaj P. Ryan in my super flex. Like my QB2 was Baker, and like it's like I'm 4-3 or 5-3. I'm like, so many teams are.
I think that's the second, third, and 20. Yeah.
So many teams are tanking in that league that my team is ass, and I'm just like in the playoff race.
In that second, third, and 20 league, Frank wanted to offer me a trade for someone. He's like, all right, let me look at your team. And he's like, never mind, because there was just no one on my team.
Bro, so many teams. My team sucks. I should be the worst team in the league, and I'm like 5-3.
Yeah, you haven't seen my team. This one I think is going to get a lot of hype. I don't know how much it's actually going to be worth, but we have.
I would sell on this hype.
Being traded to the Bills. I agree, but is that actually?
See, for me, the first name I cared
traded to the Bills.
To the Bills. The first name that popped in my head when I thought of this trade was, James Cook. That was the first thing that came to my head. I think he's the one player that takes the biggest impact from this trade. More than Hines.
Obviously.
I don't think he was worth a whole lot in the first place.
No, but he was starting to inch his way back over the past couple weeks, I feel. Like, he had a horrendous and nightmare week one, and everyone saw that on national television, and it just plummeted. Like, his first touch in the NFL, he fumbled. He finished the game with, like, -2 yards. It was terrible. But, like, they've been like over the past like few weeks been starting to like give him a little bit of run here and there, and he had been looking okay, but then this he's
toast.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the first thing I thought of, but I'll let you guys go and talk about Hines.
I'm just not that excited.
Everyone's gonna say, he's going to the best offense in football, and
it is a boost. It is a boost.
Yeah, listen, how much of a
that's the question. The level of the boost.
He's still flex play, so it doesn't do anything. Like, and people are going to now say, you can probably get a second for a mid-second for Nyheim Hines, and I would just sell him. Just get rid of him. If someone's gonna offer you a mid-second for Nyheim Hines because he went to the Bills, thank you very much. I'll see you rookie draft time when you regret it. Like, I don't know what you want me to do here. Like, it's just an easy call.
He's never had more than 100 carries in his career. He's a decent pass catching back, but he's essentially like at the end of the day, he's J.D. McKissick. Like,
yeah, which is we saw the Bills try to go out and sign McKissick this offseason, and then they got Nyheim Hines at the trade deadline. It's the same player. It's probably a better version of McKissick here. So. It's just a move that it didn't surprise me when I saw it at all, and it doesn't. People are going to perceive it as a boost, but I don't think it really helps him fantasy wise that much. Just because they're still gonna throw the ball to Stephon Diggs, they're still gonna throw the ball to Gabe Davis. Dawson Knox is gonna rob some touchdowns. You're going to still have Singletary as the main back. It doesn't do
he's
much.
never had more than 3 rushing touchdowns in his career. That's not changing here. It's whatever. His usage is just never going to be enough.
The only interesting aspect of this is if you think he could have usurped Devin Singletary, and or if you think he's good enough that if Singletary gets hurt, that he's launched into an RB1 possibility. Because I agree with you, Jake. I don't think you're getting a second for Nyheim Hines in a majority of leagues. But is he good enough because of the handcuff factor to go out and try to purchase like Nyheim Hines and a third for a second? Try to just get a little bit back on top of giving up your second. If you're trying to find like a really cheap potential running back play, if you're weak at running back.
No.
Is that worth it or no?
No. His usage is just, even if Devin Singletary goes down, they're going to get someone off the street, like, what happened with Latavius Murray, with what happened with Kenyon Drake. There's definitely a running back out there, Marlon Mack, say. They're just going to get this guy off the street, and then that's going to be their main guy to run the ball. Because that's not what Nyheim Hines is. He's not your in-between tackle rusher. He's just not going to have the usage, so it doesn't matter. Moving on,
this seems like their James White move, right? We're getting a guy that's just a good, savvy, pass-catching veteran for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Finally, part of that trade was also Zack Moss got traded to the Colts. My response to that is, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that Zack Moss right now is going to be the backup running back over Deion Jackson.
Yeah,
after what we saw at Deion Jackson when he played.
I actually think Jackson will be backup running back. I don't think there's really a question. I think this is just a depth play for Indy and taking back a running back.
Yeah, I don't know. If you could get anything, a singular fab for Zack Moss, I'd do it.
And agreed. Lastly, there were people that weren't traded. Elijah Moore, Brandin Cooks, Jerry Jeudy, Kareem Hunt.
I wanted to touch on Elijah Moore right now, because I'll tell you what, after watching the Jets game back, I am shocked that Elijah Moore was not moved, and I'm also shocked at what he said in the presser that he just doesn't get thrown the ball. Bro, you don't play. I don't know if I'm on crack or if the sleeper stats are wrong or something, because I saw, when I watched back the Jets offense, I barely saw him. I saw Braxton Berrios starting over him in the slot, and Jeff fucking Smith line up on the outside, and Denzel Mims over him. And then when he plays, the few snaps he plays like dog shit. I don't know what he wants. He's called out the coaching staff. Now he's called out teammates. He's demanded a trade. The trade has not happened. Honestly, like, if I have Elijah Moore, this is the week where I'm starting to ask, like, okay, what the fuck is going on?
Well, I mean, a few things. First off,
honestly,
I was at that game, sick bag. I was at the game, and I literally turned to the people I was with, and I was like, does Elijah Moore like even exist? Like we have gone all game without seeing him on the field. And you're right, you had people like what's his name? Jeff Smith? Is that his name?
Yeah, Jeff Smith.
Yeah, Jeff Smith is
Berrios.
I mean, Braxton Berrios, that whole him and Zach Wilson with the matching T-shirts. Yeah. But
ice cream. They went and got ice cream together, JT. They have a connection.
But I just refuse to believe the Elijah Moore that we saw last year, who had, like, he would have multiple games with 10 plus targets. He had like 141 receiving yards against Miami, as I pulled up the stats here. Like, I have to imagine he's somewhat good. And even if the Jets don't think he is, I would imagine that there is a team out there that does. And if you're not going to use him, why not just trade him? Because then you're not going to use him. You're getting a draft pick plus to get him off your team. You don't have the whole locker room drama that you would. Why not just trade him?
They're going to trade him at draft time. You know that. Obviously,
this
is Elijah Moore.
His time with the Jets is over. listen, he's criticized the coaching staff for not playing him. He's criticized the quarterback for not throwing him the ball. He's demanded a trade. The writing's on the wall. His time with the Jets is over. They are going to trade. They're going to just. I wouldn't be surprised to see him as a healthy scratch the rest of the year, and just
That would be
trade him.
Really?
I'd be.
If it's that close, because I agree with you for what we've seen. Right, he is in the doghouse. There's no question about it. The guy is not playing.
He played.
They
I
needed
think
receivers last year. I'm watching that game. Jeff Smith is not creating separation. Braxton Berrios is not creating separation.
They have one
in the
receiver,
second half,
and it's a
Garrett
rookie.
Wilson's being put in his ass every play because they are literally just going out to murder him with double teams and everything they can throw at him.
Side
The
note,
only fucking guy that can get open is Tyler Conklin. Like, they needed him. That there's a potential win on the line, and they're like, "Fuck it, we're not playing you."
Jack Jones is a beast, by the way.
He is.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse before it gets better too. Even if he plays,
You know, it's gonna be ugly for the real quick. It's gonna be ugly for the rest of the season. Do I think the Jets trade him? No, unless they get like a really solid return. Like they would need a second plus. Like it'd have to be like a second, a third, or two, which I don't think they're gonna get. Because I think his fair price would be to pay 1 second, similar to the Claypool price that we saw earlier today. I don't want to write it completely off because I don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be next season.
I think
I'm not 100% sure it's Zach Wilson as their starting quarterback next year.
It doesn't matter.
They're not going to be able to replace him in 1 year. Like they're not.
It's going to be a hot take. I thought Zach Wilson had a pretty darn good game against the Patriots. I mean, yeah, listen, you guys are going to.
That is definitely a hot take.
The only person
that is a hot take.
The guy had like 5 bad throws all game. A couple of them happened.
He cost them the game.
Yeah, a couple.
If they get mediocre QB play, they win that game.
He had 5 bad throws to like 3 good throws. So you're still in the negative.
I thought he played a good game. I went back. I watched the fucking throws. I thought he played pretty well. This is the. I said the same thing about Josh Allen too. Like I've been wrong.
Josh Allen has bailed out every single person for bad quarterback play because Josh Allen's the only guy who's like had that crazy.
I think it's the same thing. I think it's very similar thing. You look at the plays, you go back and you see some phenomenal plays, and then you see a couple just annoyingly bad mistakes.
I saw 2 slightly good plays. I didn't see any phenomenal plays.
He had a throwaway he just didn't put enough mustard on, and a throw where he made the right decision. He was hot off his right, hits a crosser over the middle, threw it off his back foot, and missed
That's
it
the thing. He's an off
Some of these throws are reckless. I mean, in JT, by the way, I agree with you. I hate the Josh Allen. I think the only QB we've seen even come close to the Josh Allen jump is you could argue Tua this season. I think it's mostly just like Jalen Hurts, where it's like the type where it's like people were saying he's not an NFL QB to now being like a top QB. You could argue Tua, but I think Tua was better early on than Jalen Hurts was.
Lamar.
Yeah, but Lamar even wasn't like that bad. Jalen Hurts was pretty rough to start. He had like a 52 completion percentage. But to the point with Elijah Moore, and the situation, I think it's fluid. Like with Zach Wilson, well, I disagree with Frank. I definitely think it's a hot take. I'm not going to shit on Zach Wilson. I don't think it's like there's zero chance he become a decent or good NFL QB. I could see because he has the talent too. I think it's the decision making because he has the arm, he has everything. I also don't think it's a guarantee that he's a starting quarterback next season. The roster is too good for a terrible quarterback to keep on holding them back. That Jets roster is good.
I would not be surprised to see the Jets take a swing at an Aaron Rodgers or one
Derek Carr if the Raiders want to blow it up.
You guys have.
That roster, no. That roster is too good.
Solve all their issues. Picking up another. You're saying
their roster is good outside of quarterback.
You go pick up Derek Carr.
They have a
Aaron Rodgers, but yeah.
Obviously Rodgers would be more ideal, but like the Jets have a playoff roster outside of quarterback. They do. Their defense is good enough. Their offensive skill guys are good enough. Garrett Wilson's only going to get better.
5.
No, I'm saying they're 5. They're what are they now? 5-3.
Yeah.
They should be at minimum 6-2, if not 7-1, with mediocre QB play.
I mean,
Joe Flacco.
Oh my goodness.
No, JT. I know you like the Patriots. If they had an average QB last weekend, they win that game.
Yeah, I mean, if the roughing a passer call on Mac Jones.
No, not even that.
Game.
Like even with that, like I don't know.
He's been worse than Sam Darnold and Mark Sanchez so far.
Yes,
in the start of their Jets
and Geno Smith when he started.
And he's got
he's
got the most talented wide receiver so far in Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Which facts, he's the only wide receiver to put up multiple 100-yard games for a rookie receiver in Jets
history.
I forget since when. I don't know if it was history, but that was a big flashing stat on the scoreboard when we were at the game. It's like, congrats. All right, Brandon Cooks, Jerry Jeudy.
Back to Elijah Moore. I'm not done with Elijah Moore.
Okay.
Is this an Ayuk situation? Is this an actual buy low situation? Because you guys are, I don't agree with what you guys are saying, because if he was so out, why is he not gone just for whatever you could have got? They could have gotten a fifth for him. 100%.
Because he's too talented. He's too talented.
Because they know what they have.
So then it's not over then, right? Then it's not over.
I'm saying it's not over for him in the Jets. I'm saying it might not be over because they might have a different quarterback next year.
Okay.
No, it's not over because he's going to get traded.
Every segment and saying their team doesn't have a quarterback.
They don't. There's been these teams don't have quarterbacks.
Let's think logically 1 second about this though. If they have Elijah Moore in their long-term plans and Zach Wilson not in their long-term plans, why would they piss off Elijah Moore and to keep Zach Wilson happy?
Because
that part just doesn't make sense.
Because if you're the Jets, you're still fucking hoping that Zach Wilson pans out. That's the most important thing to your franchise right now. But at a certain point, like if he shits the bed the rest of the season, we'll see. We'll see how he looks versus Buffalo next week. Good luck.
I think Elijah Moore could be a good buy for the right price. I just think it's going to get worse before it gets better because they play Buffalo.
It will get worse. No, the rest of the season is going to be a shit show for Elijah
Buffalo
Moore.
a buy.
Something happens with the Jets where people just lose all sense to rationally think. Imagine coming in week 1 of the season saying, "Hey, Jets fans, you guys are going to have an insanely talented draft class, and your team's going to be 5-3 with your quarterback." Who just put up 350 yards and multiple touchdowns against a division rival. And you guys are...
Don't do that. You are painting a completely different picture than the game he played last Sunday.
The Jets fan base
was awful.
Get a completely new quarterback and saying that this is a playoff caliber roster.
It is.
With the head coach and quarterback holding them back.
That's
what I'm hearing.
I'm not saying the head coach. By the way, I'm not saying the head coach. I'm saying the quarterback is holding them back. 1,000%.
All right, guys, welcome back to Jets Talk with JT. This team has gotten lucky.
If they have Jacoby Brissett last Sunday, they win.
Lounis, this is your classic. Let's bring up a hypothetical that you can't argue argument that happens.
Okay. What is hypothetical about this? Zach Wilson fucking sucks so far, and he is holding back the Jets. Is there any hypothetical in that sentence? Is there any hypothetical in that sentence? It's the facts. He has the talent to get better. I'm not saying he can't. He has the talent to. He has the arm ability to. But he's been awful. He's been terrible. Even the games they won with him starting, which is it is the ultimate defense case to people saying wins aren't a QB stat. Because he's been terrible since he's come back. And it's just been Breece Hall carrying that offense for multiple weeks and the defense playing out of their minds, with Sauce Gardner looking like a top 5 or 7 corner as a rookie. And the defense, it's the quarterback holding that roster back. I'm not saying they're insane, but I'm saying they're a playoff team with average to slightly below average QB play. But they're getting terrible QB play. That's not a hypothetical. That's just a fact.
Box score Lounis coming back.
Box score Lounis. Okay.
Box score Lounis. You're
the one pointing out the box score. You're like, oh, he had 350 yards.
Game back. perfect in the
I'm the box score watching. You're saying, 350 yards. Like he didn't throw a pass to Denzel Mims that he somehow broke for 70 when they were down like 10 in the fourth quarter to help pad those passing yard numbers. Like Zach Wilson has been terrible.
I frankly disagree.
How did this turn into a?
He's been awful.
I don't know about
It's fucking Elijah Moore. I don't know how we got into Zach Wilson.
Because it's Lounis every episode. He comes in, look at the contracts. They're going to have a new quarterback. And then all of a sudden it becomes a Zach Wilson segment.
He hasn't been good.
And then he comes in with his, if Jacoby Brissett was there, then Elijah Moore would be a wide receiver too. And you can't
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said they would have won the game. Zach Wilson lost them that game. Zach Wilson lost them that game.
Yes, I'm not disagreeing with that.
No. You're the one who came on. You're the one who came on. Zach Wilson actually didn't have a bad game. He threw 350 yards against the Patriots.
If you look at the wider lens, he had a couple mistakes that lost them the football game. I agree with that. He lost them the football game. But if you look at the bigger picture, at the overall his development, you finally see some big.
What development?
You finally see
how much better does he look?
Being elite.
I'm waiting for it. I see the arm talent. I see it. I see he has a cannon. I see he can make off-platform throws like absurdly. Like it's like his talent. It pops off the screen. I'm saying his decision making is so bad he is losing them games.
I ain't seen any Zach Wilson.
One game.
I ain't see any Zach Wilson.
He's going to lose
on Sunday. That made me say. That's elite ball placement.
The Garrett Wilson throw in the first quarter was impressive.
Garrett Wilson on the run.
That throw was good.
Listen, there's multiple throws in the first drive. There's another throw. Michael Carter over the middle. Fantastic defensive play. I forget, by one of those safeties. I think it might have been Phillips. Then you have another throw. Denzel Mims on the sideline. At least in my opinion, pinpoint accuracy. Slightly to the left, but Denzel Mims caught it out of bounds. You saw it against the Steelers especially, his first game back.
Anyone could throw against that Steelers secondary.
Do you see what
Tom Brady could.
Okay, that Bucs offense is absurd. Jalen Hurts just looked like Patrick Mahomes.
Now we're getting.
Tua good, right? Tua was great. Look at his second half numbers.
Tua's been playing out of his mind this season. Tua is much better
against the Steelers defense in the second half. They had one first down the whole second half. They didn't score a point after the first quarter.
They didn't have to.
I think I'm the only rational person on the Jets. Honestly.
I'm the rational person on the Jets because I'm the highest.
I'm saying Zach Wilson is fine. He's just not great.
I'm the one who I feel is highest on their roster outside of quarterback. I am high on the Jets outside of their quarterback. I think their starting quarterback has been playing terrible. I think Breece Hall and the defense has bailed them out over a couple games where the opposing offense has played like ass. And then last Sunday, the opposing offense still played like ass. It's just Zach Wilson single-handedly lost them the game.
Look, Ramondre Stevenson was good. All right, we don't need to bring the Patriots.
The Patriots offense wasn't good, and you know that.
These other people, because you're right. This is just eating up the episode. This nonsense.
I don't know which of you I want to play more for that. Brandin Cooks not traded.
This has got to stink Brandin Cooks managers because we have the Orphan League. I was praying to God that he was going to get traded.
And look, the Cowboys were close. The report came out. The Cowboys were very close on a trade for Brandin Cooks.
Not that close, apparently, because he's still on the Texans.
What's the price now for Brandin Cooks then in Dynasty? Is it still just like that mid-second where Brandin Cooks managers aren't going to sell?
Yeah, Mixon paradoxed. He's in that zone.
I feel like you needed the trade to get him to the price point where you'd actually get trades to happen.
You needed it. Now if you're do you sell him to a contender for a contender late second? I'd start considering
that's the scenario that we're going to be in with our orphan team. Is what do we do? Do we just hold the bag or do we sell low and just take a contender second?
I would start considering the contender. I would try to get it in. I would try to get it in the 24 draft class. Because maybe obviously a year out, teams change every year, but also like it doesn't seem like the late second's going to be that great this rookie draft. Again, I could be completely wrong. It's super hard to predict. But if I could sell him to a contender for their 24 second round pick, I think I have to really consider it, because at this point he signed an extension last summer. Am I wrong, or was it like a summer before that?
It was only a 2-year extension.
2-year extension, but he's going to be what, 31?
I don't think his contract is that bad given the current
signed until
market.
he signed until 2024.
He signed until 2024.
So when we go into the season, he'll have 2 years left.
And he's 29 right now. So what? He'll be 31 when he's a free agent, or 30, turning 31 that season.
Yeah, in next season he will be 30.
Okay, yeah. So he'll be 31.
I mean, if you're a team like the Ravens.
Yeah, I think
right?
he's a prime off-season target for a team that misses out on the free agent market, that misses out in the draft. Maybe they don't have that, because he's a good wide receiver. He's been traded like 4 times already. Like, he's a coveted guy. Like, he will produce and help your team and everything. It's just teams right now that were in that market figured it's a little bit too much of a risk to take on at the current valuation of Brandin Cooks.
On the other hand, as a contender, should you be looking like a little vulture to buy now for that singular second, that mid-second, if maybe you've traded for one, because of the fact that now you're getting him similar to like a Tyler Lockett, right? You're getting him with the bad offense for the foreseeable future priced in, the unexpected, more than 1 year outlook as well, because you're right, he's under contract until 2024. You realistically could be getting another 2 years out of him at top 30 wide receiver points per game. I think that's a pretty realistic projection for a guy of his talent. Like,
I'm interested to hear what Jake thinks here.
Brandin Cooks is just an odd one, just because like he's always been this guy that's just been traded 4 times, like you said, and he's never viewed as this high-end asset in Dynasty, despite the fact that he always just goes out there and puts up 1,000 yards plus and 6 touchdowns plus, and he's always finishes, a wide receiver 2 at worst, and he still just doesn't get the respect he can. And now he's obviously getting to the point where he's older, so people are like, oh, how many before, blah, 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 blah. We've heard this story before, but I don't know, man. I just think he's found a little spot in Houston here where he's still relevant. Obviously, as a fantasy owner, you would love to see him go to a high-powered offense like the Chiefs, like no doubt. But I just think he's a guy that, like you guys said, is going to be a prime candidate to be traded when the team misses out in the draft, misses out in free agency, and he's just a guy that's going to hold his value for a while. That's just what he does. He seems to never go away, and that's what he is. Being traded or not being traded doesn't change my opinion on Brandin Cooks, just because I think he's still going to put up 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns. That's just what he puts up every single year.
It's
the only point I disagree with.
What he does.
If he was traded, it's not that. If he got traded to Green Bay or Dallas, that doesn't change anything for you.
I mean, sure, short term, but like, what's the guarantee that he stays there?
But
like,
he's 29. The short term is the most important term.
Not that I necessarily disagree, because I find myself on the same kind of wavelength as Jay, but it is funny to see how different you are about Calvin Ridley versus Brandin Cooks. And I'm also in that same kind of zone, but I don't know how I reconcile how I feel so not great about Calvin Ridley, but
well, the thing is, like,
Cooks.
I think to get a guy like, Brandin Cooks, you probably only have to give up 1 mid-second. To get a guy like Calvin Ridley, you're probably going to have to give up more, just because he's got that name value. And I'm not going to pay up for that when I could just go get Brandin Cooks, who puts up probably a better season next year.
I mean, currently Calvin Ridley is ranked below Brandin Cooks on Keep Trade Cut. I have to imagine they're probably pretty similar, though, in
That's
actual.
Gonna change.
Yeah, it's going to change with the trade and whatever. So they're going to be about. I just have it's also the name value. You're not going to. A guy's going to say, "I have Calvin Ridley."
Yeah, but Brandin Cooks is like.
I think the discrepancy is that Brandin Cooks right now has more value to contenders than Calvin Ridley does, where Calvin Ridley has more value to kind of just everyone, because if you're a contender, you're fine having him on your roster, And as a rebuilder, you're thinking, okay, I can stunk Calvin Ridley when he comes back and is better, right? Brandin Cooks is just looked at, you're going to invest in a depreciating asset, which is where we lie into trouble as a rebuilding team, because we know that the writing is on the wall to trade Brandin Cooks for a second, similar to Adam Thielen, right? You knew the writing was on the wall last year or 2 years ago, and when your opportunity to sell him at that price was kind of at its end. But I think that this could be that time with Brandin Cooks where you're investing in Adam Thielen and you're saying, yeah, I'm giving up the second, which seems a little expensive, but when you look at everything, I'm getting 2 or 3 years of a guy who's going to be a flex play, wide receiver 2 or 3 in my lineup, and that's fine for that second round pick. By the time I need my second round pick, I'm going to get my slate of 25 picks that I can use my second round pick as his replacement. That's my argument. And the only reason I'm saying that is because as our rebuilding team, we may be forced into this scenario. So someone could take advantage of that from us. I guess lastly, Jerry Jeudy, I don't think his value really changes right now because there's still upside with him. His profile on the Broncos just kind of needs to stay healthy. The Broncos offense need to figure everything out, correct? Any other takes?
I did kind of find it interesting that the Bears traded for Claypool and not Jeudy. More so because
the Broncos won, correct? Last week they won the game.
Yeah, but allegedly the asking price, because the Giants were also interested in Jeudy. Allegedly the asking price was a second and a fifth. The Broncos would have traded him for a second and a fifth.
I think it made, dude, I'm sticking to my guns kind of last week where I think they would have stooped. Like, let's say the Bears wanted Jeudy over Claypool and they were like, yo, we'll give you the second, but if not, we're taking Claypool. I really think if the Broncos lost last week, then they get Jeudy. If that scenario holds, like if they wanted Jeudy over Claypool. It could have just been that they wanted Claypool, and then because the price was lower, it obviously just is a match made in heaven.
Mm-hmm. All right, but yeah, without him being traded, fine. This one's got hurt though. Yeah, not traded. People were thinking he could be the running back one somewhere. He's still backup, Jake.
He's not. He's still not.
Game, I'll tell you what, they really started putting an emphasis. This could have been because Njoku was out, who was kind of their number 2, number 3 option. But they really put an emphasis on let's put Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in the game at the same time, which we just hadn't seen. It was usually, this is a Kareem Hunt drive / package. This is a Nick Chubb package / formation / drive. Now maybe that just continues to hold because they're like, shit, we really can't move on from Kareem Hunt. Now we got to make the most of it.
Listen, at the end of the day, this doesn't change anything. To me, he was a flex play every week, pretty much in Cleveland. He stays that obviously as he didn't get traded, and he's still a free agent in the offseason, which is part of the reason why I think the Browns didn't end up trading him is because they're fine just saying, okay, we'll take the fifth round comp pick if he walks, and then they're not going to take worse than a 4th because they're going to get a 5th anyway. So that's part of the reason I think that he didn't get traded was just the value didn't add up for teams to give up a 4th, and they weren't going to trade him. It's kind of an all mixing paradox in real life, but it's just he's still going to get his touches in this offense. He's one of the better offensive weapons on this Cleveland football team. And moving forward, yes, he might be an older running back as they come. I think he's 27 now, 28 maybe. 27. But even better, great. He's 27. So he's going to sign a 3-year deal this offseason with somebody.
Well, my question is, and I'll go to Lounis because Lounis, you're this type of guy. That's a good point you bring up, and the fact that he's going to be a free agent. Right now, I think a lot of people are either don't know about that, choosing to forget, or maybe the season right now is just too much in the front row, in whatever, right? In the fucking view. Do you buy Hunt for the push as a contender this season, as well as for the upside of where he can go in free agency? Like, does Kareem Hunt just have underpriced longevity?
So So the free agency part is the tricky one because I do agree with Jake where if he was able to be the lead back on a team, obviously I think he can produce.
Well, the thing is, he doesn't need to be because he's in an offense right now with Nick Chubb, who's been a top 5 fantasy back himself.
I know, but realistically,
so we've seen him be productive with another high end back next to him.
I know, but
I don't think that's not going to change. Okay, congratulations, he's playing next to who you want to say? He's playing next to Jonathan Taylor. Fine, maybe it goes down a little bit, but he's not going to go to Indy. He's going to go to Atlanta. He's going to go to Buffalo. He's going to go to the Rams. He's going to go somewhere where he's going to get these reps that you want. He's a free agent. He can go anywhere he wants. Quite literally, that's the point. So he's not going to go somewhere that's going to make him look worse. That's just not how it is.
But
no, and
I real quick. I just want to respond to what Jake said real quick. What I was saying with free agency, when we were talking about free agency boost, and you're saying he can produce with another back. Yeah, I know he can. But I'm saying the free agency boost is the hope that he does get to a lead back situation, like the situation you just said, where if he goes to Buffalo, he'll be the lead back. What were the other teams? I forgot off the top of my head.
Bills.
But Bills,
Falcons.
He'd be the lead back. Falcons,
Atlanta, Miami.
These are
all things you guys are saying are positive things.
No, they are. They are. I wasn't able to get to my second point. My second point was, obviously, you hope for that. It's a complicated offseason with running backs. I think this is a pretty good running back draft class. I think there's a ton of free agent running backs that are going to be very interesting. So I'm not even going to include Saquon because I'm assuming the Giants will not let him go this offseason, whether it be an extension or a franchise tag.
Probably
I feel like we've had this discussion last week.
Montgomery's going to be a free agent. That the Bears
can go over the list of them. We talked about them last week.
We talked about the list. It's a strong free agent running class. So it's you hope that he ends up in a situation like the Bills, Falcons, where he can be like the lead number one guy. And if he is, then obviously his value takes a huge jump. But I don't think it's as much of a lock. I don't consider that free agency boost a lock or anything close to guaranteed.
Well, think about all these running backs that teams let walk and they sign with a new team. How many of them realistically do have a value boost? Like if I'm looking in the past 5 years, I could think of James Conner. I'm struggling to think of anyone else.
Leonard Fournette would probably be the most comparable one because Hunt is of a pedigree where it's not like it's just freaking Rashad Mendenhall is kind of mid and the team is like, yeah, we'll get rid of him.
No, these are actually good running backs.
On multiple teams now.
But is Hunt compare him to Leonard Fournette? The last time Hunt had more than had 20 carries in a game was in 2020. Looking back, that's 2 years ago. He had 20 carries in a game. He's not like that workhorse back. That's
what I'm saying. You're banking.
They're not asking him to do that.
They're not asking him because they probably don't want him to. And why don't they want him?
It's just because how many running backs are better than Nick Chubb? Nick Chubb is a top 3 running back.
They happen to have a running back that gets 20 carries.
Nick Chubb missed a decent amount last
year. Okay, we're getting off point. How about this? Let's just. Are you giving up your second for Kareem Hunt right now?
A contender second?
Fringe, just contender second. Yeah, contender second.
I don't hate it.
Yes.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it. I don't know if
I'm not going to criticize that move at all. I think it's
How about a second and you got to give up your 2 and your 3?
Yeah.
Then I'm like,
Doesn't change anything.
What about
would you guys right now rather
Cooks?
Oh, Brandon Cooks?
Yeah, Hunter, Brandon Cooks. Who would you rather have?
I don't know.
Probably,
they're both.
It's probably Hunt.
They're in the same tier.
And I was initially.
No, I think a better
at his position.
I think a more interesting question could be: would you rather have Tony Pollard or Kareem Hunt?
Oh, Tony Pollard.
Oh my God.
Dude, after last week, it's got to be Tony Pollard.
Zeke's not going anywhere.
It's just always Tony Pollard.
I mean, he's not going anywhere until Jerry Jones just saw Tony Pollard put up a $150 in
Pollard's been better.
He was thinking about benching Dak for Cooper Rush. What do you think he's going to be doing now that he knows he has Tony Pollard? The senile old man is finally seeing the truth.
Pollard has been better than Zeke for a year plus. I don't think this big. Do you see what Jerry Jones just said after the game? They asked him, "What do you think about Pollard?" And he said, "We still go as Zeke goes." He still views Zeke as the guy. That was his quote. McCarthy said we have 2 RB1s. Jerry Jones said we go as Ezekiel Elliott goes. That was his quote. That's why I bring that up. I cannot wait for Pollard to leave the Cowboys.
You're taking Hunt over Pollard?
I think it's close. I don't think it's as far away as you. I do think if it was a reasonable GM, then it shouldn't be close. But Jerry Jones isn't reasonable. He doesn't want to seem like an idiot. He doesn't want to seem like an idiot over the Zeke contract, even though everyone knows it's bad.
Yeah, but the problem is, if your argument is Kareem Hunt can walk or whatever, so can Tony Pollard, right? Isn't Tony Pollard going to be a free agent? It's either
no, that's what I'm saying. You have to pray that he walks.
These are hypothetical. Last person I want to bring up is Cam Akers. Also wasn't traded.
He sucks.
Oh that was a disappointing
no shit,
one.
No
I
one
really
wanted
thought
to
he
trade
was
for him.
gone. Bro,
why would I trade an asset for Cam Akers?
We don't need to rehash last.
He's close to getting released. Like it's. Raheem Mostert run for a 5th. Give me Raheem Mostert. At least I know he can fucking run. Like it's.
You mean Jeff Wilson?
Jeff Wilson, yeah.
Jeff Wilson. This is on this pod. He's here to fight.
I'm not, Cam Akers is who I thought he was.
We're already an hour and a half into the pod, so maybe let's pick and choose some segments here that we want to run with, and then toss them for a couple. Save some.
Okay, I want to do some must sells. No, we can get through these pretty quick. Quick.
Right.
Bang them out 10 minutes.
I got to say that, and then it's cut.
Okay, yeah, it's not gonna happen. My must sell. We got to pick one. As I say that, I'm going to say 3.
Okay.
I was thinking about saying Mike Evans because it's pretty clear you could probably still get a 1st-round pick for him, and next year I just think he's not going to be worth that, and you're not going to be able to get that for him ever again. So I would sell Mike Evans right now for my 1st. I think even in some leagues you might be able to get like a little smidge on top, maybe a little throw-in piece. Van Jefferson here or there, why not? Maybe a late 3rd, who knows? I was going to say him, and then I was thinking about saying DeAndre Hopkins, another 30-year-old receiver that people are going to take this 2-game sample size completely out of control. And, okay, now for the first time in 2 years, I can sell him for a 1st. I will take that opportunity and sell him for a 1st. Don't hate D-Hop. I'm just going to take my opportunity when it comes. But I think the number one must-sell right now is Ramondre Stevenson. And
he was mine.
In part, it is because of what Lounis was saying before. This is an incredibly strong running back draft class, running back free agency class. Damian Harris will probably be a part of that group of free agents, correct? This is the last year of his deal. Yep. I would not be surprised if someone like the likes of David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt, one of these types of backs, maybe even in the draft.
Montgomery fits the Patriots perfectly.
If they go to New England, I would not be shocked whatsoever if New England was like, yo, listen, we like Ramondre Stevenson, but New England is not in the fantasy football game. Bill Belichick has said that thousands upon thousands of times. This is a team that wants to win football games. This team has not operated in years with a one running back system. I don't think Ramondre Stevenson is good enough to warrant that. So I think that they bring in some competition, and right now you can sell him as a top 20 running back in Dynasty.
That's more so the issue why I tell him is because of how high he's rated. I think he's going to have a decent role in the Patriots offense for a while, but he does kind of have that. When I was at the game, I was talking with some people. Someone brought up he's kind of got that LeGarrette Blount fallacy where he's like this big back, but like he's not that efficient at the goal line. He's not the one that really truly pounds it in for the Patriots. So you're kind of losing out on those high value touches there. But I think he's a very talented player. It's just he's valued so high for someone that truly can be more into like a long down and distance kind of back, kind of change the pace back if they do end up getting someone better. So don't disagree. Anyone else have a must?
I have
Yep.
2.
Okay.
Real quick. One, especially off the hype of the Hockenson trade, is Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's still listed as wide receiver 10. I mean, I'm sure you guys know, I don't even believe he's the best when everyone's healthy receiver on his team. But even ignoring that, say Jameson Williams wasn't on the team. He's not. You can't convince me he's one of the top 12 dynasty receivers. You can't. If you can sell him for that wide receiver 10 to even like 14 price, I would, especially with the hype off of this Hockenson trade. I don't think he's like that. I like Amon-Ra, and I do think he's a wide receiver 2 in Dynasty. I think he should be closer to like 20 than 10. If not at 20. So he for me, I just think he's over. Not like over because he's having a good year, but wide receiver 10 is way too high for me on the rankings. The other one is Daniel Jones. Right now, he's listed at quarterback 15 and right above an early 23 second. I'm not assuming that you can get an early 23 second for him, but I would sell for a mid second. I think people are kind of getting the wrong idea with looking at Daniel Jones. I think it would be a huge mistake, and I don't think they're dumb enough to do this. Give Daniel Jones this big extension. People are saying, "Oh, Dable came in. Look at Daniel Jones." I'm more considerate. I said it earlier. Imagine if Dable actually had a pretty good quarterback. The offense would be great. The offense is still only putting up 21st in points per game, 26 in yards per game. He has 9 touchdowns in 8 games. He's not that guy. But yet he has gone up a ton in rankings. He's another sell for me because, like Jake was saying earlier, I see him being a bridge quarterback, high-end backup very soon. He'll be in the NFL for a while as that role, but he's being sold as a top 15, 17 quarterback. I'll sell off him immediately.
All right. The 2 I'm going to zig while people are zagging. Sorry, 1 second, Jake. Kenneth Walker, Damian Pierce.
Oh, you took. I was going to say
Kenneth Walker.
Okay,
look,
they're both young running backs, so you're going to be like, well, why? I'll just hold out and wait for, I'll just ride out these points and just wait until the offseason because I could sell them then. Well, Damian Pierce, for starters, he doesn't have the draft capital to support him, so there's no guarantee that the Texans don't just get another running back who then either totally usurps Damian Pierce or at least puts Damian Pierce in timeshare, in which case he's definitely not worth what he is. These are both they're both top 12 running backs, where Kenneth Walker is now the RB2. He's the RB2.
RB1
on Keep Trade Cut? Okay, he's RB1. Regardless.
Wait, who's RB1?
Kenneth Walker.
No, he's not.
Injuries happen.
No, he's not.
Injuries happen, and they happen at the running back position the most. So you are just, if you are holding these guys into your trade deadline, you are just rolling the dice that they're not going to get injured, that they're not going to get some other competition that could put them back on the bench. They have tons of value right now, and they're not nearly as good as the prospect as the likes of a Breece Hall or Saquon or a Nick Chubb or any of the guys that are typically rated in that high. Like, Damian Pierce and Kenneth Walker are not those guys. So
100%. I mean, I had the 24 RB class on here. I knew someone was going to touch on him. But at some point, we need to start valuing young running backs correctly, because clearly judging off of their initial production has led us to ranking every single running back that slightly produces into the top 10. Happens every year. From Kerryon Johnson until, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, into freaking the next class, and then the next class. Every single time there's a couple injuries that happen, or for whatever reason, these guys get launched. Maybe they go to a team like the Texans or the Jets and they have no one. They have production, because the number one tell of running back production in fantasy is simply volume. Get ranked way too high, and the only ones that ever last are the ones that are actually good. Even fucking Saquon was starting to get dropped by people later into his career. And this dude was a top 5 fucking pick. Like, we need to sell off of these young running backs, even though you're going to lose some production, if you want to build a dynasty, because clearly these valuations are consistently being inflated.
All right. Yeah. Did you have any other ones, Jake?
The other guy I have is another running back, and it's Josh Jacobs. He's just been playing absolutely out of his mind. Give him all the credit in the world. With that being said, he's at RB10, which is just way too fucking high for Josh Jacobs. He's not RB10. There's a bunch of guys. Even right below him is Dameon Pierce, Javonte Williams, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Najee Harris. I think I would take every single one of those guys over Josh Jacobs. So, like, with that being said, if you can get this RB10 price, there is absolutely no way you can't do it. You have to do it now, and you got to do it quick.
As someone who has Josh Jacobs, what would you? Because you might have convinced me there. What's my move? Should I try to tier down, like you were saying, into a lesser running back or maybe a receiver, or should you just try and sell out for like draft picks now that he's worth a first again? Maybe get a first plus and say, fuck
yeah.
it,
I mean, if you can get a first plus, I think that's the easy move. I think always getting the first is the correct move, especially with this highly anticipated 23 class. I just think getting another first in that one or 2024 is a win for Josh Jacobs, who's a guy that was, down at RB like 25, 27, down outside of the RB2 range before the season started. So yes, he's had a good start to the season, but I still have all the same concerns that I had with him in the offseason that made him that RB 27 or whatever he was down outside that top 24 range. So if you can't get that first, though, I like to personally tier down into a wide receiver. I just think they're easier to trade for, and you get a more value out of it. If you could tier Josh Jacobs into Deontay Johnson or what's another one?
Maybe like Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin is another good one. Even if you want to go with a guy like, Ayuk or Godwin or any of these guys, like there's plenty of wide receivers that you can get the receiver and a second probably for Josh Jacobs right now because they're going to have to pay the running back tax. Everyone knows that there's not many running backs and he's producing right now. So if you're a contender and you want him, you're going to have to pay up for him right now. And it's just a move you just have to do to get your value because he's never going to be ranked this high again.
All right. Is that all the must sells?
Yeah, those are my must sells.
All right, let's hit some quick contender buys. I've got a contender buy that you will never expect because it's not for helping you win championships. It is in the future, though. I think contenders should today look to purchase 2024 first round picks.
You're right.
I think that the 24 class, as of right now, looks really phenomenal at the top end, basically at every position. I think that the price difference between the 23 picks and basically the other draft picks is too high because the hype of the 23 class has gotten out of control. So I just think if you're able to turn your young super studs and flip them for a productive piece and a draft pick. I'm talking about moving your give me a hype young player that's doing well, at least relatively young. Chris Olave. If you could flip your Chris Olave into Jacoby Myers into 2024 first, something along the lines of that, wherever the value evens out on keep trade cut, I think that those are the types of moves as a contender I would be looking to do right now because I think that you can get a comparable amount of points and then win in the value game long term with sustainability. So that's my contender move to do right now.
So my contender move, it kind of seems obvious, but I still don't think it clearly is with a lot of people. Before this weekend's game especially, it's Keenan Allen. I think he if you were seeing, obviously this isn't Dynasty, but redraft, he was going in the third round for a lot of redrafts. If like third or fourth round. Who forget, when he was healthy, he was in line for a huge season, 1,200, 1,300 yard season. Herbert has been trying to put up with Josh Palmer and like Mike Williams in and out of the lineup. Keenan Allen is still the most talented receiver of that team. I know you see the 31 years old. It's scary, whatever. We saw what happened when DeAndre Hopkins came back. Like how much of it, once you get that number one, I think Keenan Allen is my favorite buy right now. I've seen him. I'm in another Dynasty League, not one with you guys, is someone went with some of my college friends. I just saw him go for a contender second and a contender third. And I was pissed that I'm not the one who made that trade. I thought that's a great deal for him. I think he's going to come back and start producing. I know the health concern is legit. And if he comes back, plays 2 weeks, then gets injured again, it sucks. It's on the table. It's a realistic possibility. But at the lower price he's at now, I think he's someone who can be a championship winner, coming in, helping you at the end of the season and for the postseason.
Jake?
This is a tough one for me, just because I think the obvious one here is DeAndre Hopkins. I think
the only reason I didn't say Hopkins is because I kind of feel it's a little bit too late for that now. After the 2 weeks, he has 250 yards.
Yeah, that's why he's my sell. I think it's just a good sell.
I think it's too late, but I do think Keenan Allen, I don't think you're going to get quite, because Hopkins has put up ridiculous numbers in 2 weeks, but I think you might get something similar with Allen, where he comes back 2 games, has 220 yards between the two. That's why I say Keenan.
But the real one, I think, is Deontay Johnson in all reality, just because I think his value is still way too low.
It's too low. It's too low.
They just traded away Claypool. He's going to take on a little bit more target share. You got to figure Kenny Pickett continues to improve a little bit every single game that he starts, and he's just way too low. Deontay Johnson's down at wide receiver 33. People forget this guy's 26. He still has 4 years before he hits that dreaded 30 number.
I was gonna say Deontay for me is not even just the best contender, but I think he's just the best buy in general in all of fantasy or in all of dynasty football.
So with that being said, I just think you can't lose buying Deontay Johnson right now. He's at the 4,100, so he's at pretty much a late first. I guarantee you, if you can throw a receiver in a second at the guy that has him, that's a little upset with him right now, you can get him that receiver in a second, tear up a little, and that's your buy for this. And you're going to say, okay, he gets 10 targets every game. Eventually, he's going to do something with it, and just say, I'm playing the numbers here.
He's been one of my favorite tier down players this season. From a top guy, so I agree with that. Yeah.
Another sneaky one. Tyler Boyd has been very productive. Now this
Tyler
is obviously
Boyd was someone I was thinking about.
This is on a lesser tier. Obviously, you're not going to have to give up that much to get Tyler Boyd. It's probably a late second, early third for Tyler Boyd here, and I think he's a guy that, especially with Jamar Chase projected to miss about 3-4 weeks, he's been productive even with Chase in the lineup. I just think he's a guy that gets slept on, obviously, because when you have a guy like Chase and Higgins on the outside, it's very easy to forget about Tyler Boyd. But he in his own right is very good NFL wide receiver, and I think he's at 3,100 right now. So yeah, you're looking at pretty much a late second, early third here, and it's a great buy for a contender. I know he's 27, so you still have some time left on that age clock, but he's right in the age that you want right now.
I completely agree with both of your selections.
Well, I have one, and you guys aren't allowed to get mad.
I'm gonna get mad.
Don't say fucking Laviska Shenault.
What? Why Laviska Shenault? No.
That's what.
Although Terrace Marshall, 87 yards last week. I'm gonna make you lap that one.
If you said Laviska Shenault, I was going to throw my laptop.
That was probably more than Amon Ra. That was probably more receiving yards than Amon Ra. Terrace Marshall.
How crazy is it? How much higher Amon Ra is valued than DJ Moore?
You just tweeted Amon Ra. Yeah, we've been keeping notes too.
Diamond Brown went off 2 weeks after he said that. All right. Anyway,
Week 8, what up?
I'm glad you guys are happy, because now I'm gonna drop it on you. Broncos country, let's ride. Russell Wilson.
You should leave. You should leave the podcast.
I don't hate it. You're never gonna hear.
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
I hate it.
It's on you, Lounis. You're the odd one out here. Because look, his rest of the season, first off, I think he's putting it together slowly and surely. But his rest of the season, he's got Tennessee, which has been injured and banged up and in pretty soft defense. Las Vegas, which he's had his best game of the year against so far. Carolina, which who knows what they're kind of doing right now. They're kind of in disarray. Marcus Mariota just helped drop 40 points on them. Baltimore, which has been struggling. They did just pick up, I think, Roquan Smith, though, whatever. Kansas City hasn't been able to stop a pass. Arizona, like he's got very soft pass defenses in the like rest of the season, and he's starting to use his legs more. He's put up like 30 rushing yards in his previous games recently. Hear me out. I think he's starting to put it together.
Well, here's my only question. My only question, Russell Wilson, is this.
Hold on. I just have to publicly shame JT for offering me Kirk Cousins.
Wilson. Would you like to see what Keep Trade Cut says? Because it's saying I'm losing that trade. No, so I figured, hey, might as well just send that to Jake and see what Jake. Worst you could do is just reject it.
Kirk might be better. It's close.
Thank you, Lounis. Thank you.
I don't think it's a
crazy
Kirk
is 700 points above
Russell Wilson. You're not
realizing
me and Jake are little Russell Wilson bridge trolls. We are under our bridge. Just Russell Wilson is underpriced. We were saying that when he was like.
You could just, well, you guys don't have him in the stock market. I do. But if you could just like kind of scrape that little shadow of the doubt into Jake and get him to do it, I thought I had him.
Real quick, so the only thing, so I shit on Russell Wilson as soon as you said it. Ultimately, it does come down to the price. What is the price you're buying Russell Wilson at? And then that is where I'll judge. That is where I'll judge you.
He's worth less than a first right now.
Yeah, he's worth significantly less than a first.
So
allegedly.
If I gave up a late first for Russell Wilson and I got a third back, how about that?
Okay, let's just say that's the trade. Okay, a contender late first, like 109 to 112 for Russell Wilson. And
I would do that.
A mid to late third.
I would do that.
There's
no quarterback you're ever drafting in that.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's more so like, can I buy Kirk for a second?
Okay, yeah, maybe you could go the value route and you say, okay,
that's what I'm saying. No, I'm not going to find a quarterback in the late first.
Daniel Jones, who we just all said
allegedly Russell Wilson is cheaper than Kirk, though. Allegedly.
Keep track. I mean, no, but we're trying to think like realistic pricing. Like you saw it with Jake. Like most people who have Russell Wilson, they're gonna view them as slightly ahead of even at like the best case scenario. Most of the time, it's gonna be ahead of Kirk Cousins. I'd rather just pay the second for someone who's viewed a little bit lower. I do see the appeal of his schedule. It's just, man, like I don't know what it is this year. He's just missing basic reads.
I looked into quarterbacks, right? And the really only thing that determined whether or not quarterbacks would play long into their career was touchdowns. It was touchdowns. Touchdowns are king in terms of whether or not you're going to be scoring a lot of points outside of rushing, because that's clearly been established that if you're a running quarterback, you're going to have crazy upside. But in terms of passers, right, and longevity in the league, if you can throw touchdowns, you are going to stay in the league. Even so, like, and you might say, oh, well, it's about not throwing interceptions, because look at Jameis Winston. He had 30 touchdowns, 30 picks that one season. Okay, outside of him being an outlier, you look at Drew Brees. Drew Brees consistently up towards the top of the league in picks every single year. But the dude threw touchdowns and a good amount of yards as well. Russell Wilson has consistently been in the top of the league in touchdowns every fucking year except for this year. He's proven that he's a good quarterback before. I am never the guy to buy quarterbacks for cheap. I'm always saying be bougie with your quarterbacks, go out and get the good, young, sexy quarterbacks to invest in. But this is one of those opportunities, because JT is right, where you are just getting a guy with a good profile for too cheap. Russell Wilson should be in the league for at least another 3 to 4 seasons, unless he keeps playing dog shit.
The touchdowns thing, I'm with you. If it hadn't been such a cliff, like it's what is it? It's 8 games, 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, but man, dude, we're talking about the weirdest position in football. You have to remember where we go from guys being MVP candidates to not being starters, or guys that look like busts to all of a sudden being starters and franchise quarterbacks. Like, I'm willing to. At least Russ has the excuses. The offense around him has been playing like dog shit, and he has to learn a completely new system. At least the excuse is there. And he has been playing better. JT's right. Clearly, they're focusing him on scrambling and using his legs as part of a way for them to be more impactful on offense.
I'll give you the offensive system. I don't think the offensive talent around him is terrible.
Well, the thing is, Jerry Jeudy's been hurt. A lot of guys have been dropping passes. Now you lose Javonte. Courtland Sutton played like complete dog shit last game, the guy that's supposed to be your number one. The only guy who's been playing well is that damn tight end, Dulcich.
He's good.
Love me some Dulcich.
But, I mean, between Dulcich, yeah, my bad. Sutton, Jeudy.
All right. That's going to do it from us here. This episode has gone on far too long.
We're almost at 2 hours.
I love it.
All right.
We'll do these other segments next week.
Yeah, we're going to do some
episode
rookie
14.
segments next week.
I love it. Some mid-season rookie segs.
Thanks everyone for listening, watching, subscribing, rating, reviewing, commenting, all that. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Please throw
We'll see
us
you
a
tomorrow
like.
for the stock market. Yep.
Yep,
All right,
stock
thanks,
market
everyone.
coming tomorrow. JT's dropping his stardom sit him column on Twitter, so make sure to follow him at Dynasty
Heck
JT.
yeah. I'm being Fabiano again this year.
We're gonna
Currently.
in these coming episodes, probably the episode after next week, we're gonna really start honing in on the rookie content, the 2023 draft content. So be excited for that. We're gonna have a bunch of stuff coming up. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching, listening. Really appreciate it. I promise me and Lounis won't argue for 20 minutes about Zach Wilson next episode. So
The Lounis
peace out.
hypothetical is great, though.
See ya. Have a good one.